Okay, great. My name is Skip Maratska. As I mentioned previously, a proud Air Force veteran. Then I spent a lot of time in the defense space, largely on the IT side of the house. So naturally, I went into advanced materials and advanced engineering for water and air filtration, of which I have no training. But I'm very excited to talk with you all about what we are doing at Intelligent Nanofiber. We are a company that comes out of Axlebox. Axlebox is a really interesting group here in College Station, Texas. And what we are doing is rolling out a variety of different companies that all have public safety and military application, and they run the gambit. And we are one of those companies, and we have the licensing for some proprietary technology. Our motto at Intelligent Nanofiber is we are solving big problems by going small. We're doing. I think you mentioned BHAGs. Jim Collins is one of my favorite authors. His book, Good to Great and Built to Last, they all talk about BHAGs, our big, hairy, audacious goals. And we are taking on those big, hairy, audacious goals. We're taking those big problems and we're applying nanoparticles to create solutions for those. And one of our first offerings is this hyperblown polymer. So you take polypropylene in this case, and through a patented process, you create a nanomaterial that has tremendous attributes that lend itself to a variety of application. And today, I'm being very focused in talking about one of those applications, which is using it as an oil sorbent. And we cover a variety of sectors in our company, and this pictographic in the bottom kind of gives you an idea of some of those sectors. But I'd like to start us with a quote with one of my favorite coaches of all time, John Wooden. I'm not a huge UCLA fan, but this guy won 10 national championships in basketball in 12 years, 7 in a row. Nobody's ever won more than 4. So John Wooden is a guy you probably ought to listen to when he offers suggestions on leadership and coaching. And one of the things he always focused on was doing the small things right. And if you do enough of those small things right, really big things can happen. And we think that's kind of an appropriate way to look at working with nanotechnology. If you do those really little tiny things right, you can actually have big impact. Let me caveat, especially since we're in Texas, we are not anti-oil. We're smart enough to understand oil is very important for modern life. There is a ton that maybe we don't even realize that we use in our modern lives that is based upon oil. And we are not anti-oil, but we just want to be cognizant of what the oil industry and really our dependence on oil is causing, particularly when it comes to fresh water. Now, you'll bear with me. I don't mean to be a bit tree huggerish, but I was raised on a tree farm in Minnesota. So some of this comes naturally to me. But there is a traumatic global crisis happening with water. And let me just throw some knowledge at you. About 1.1 billion people each year lack access to clean water. Going beyond that, about 2.7 billion people a year experience at least 1 month where they have water scarcity. Now, if you kind of do some data mining and extrapolate, which is dangerous for someone like me with a religion degree, but if you do the math, in about 4 years, so 2025, about 2.3 or 2/3 of the world population, that's for your information, that's about 5.3 billion people at the current population rate, will be facing dramatic water shortages. So this is a big, hairy, audacious problem. Let me kind of take it another step. That's as is. That doesn't include things such as climate change or what you might think about climate change and things are happening there. And that's just the current usage of water and the problems we're having with clean water. And it's made even worse by how we, all of us as humans, are making the problem worse. For example, just 1 gallon, small gallon of oil can contaminate over 1 million gallons of water. Now, that's particularly bad if you consider a couple points. One, there are 200 million gallons of fog, that's fats, oils, and greases, that are improperly disposed of every single year. Now, if you do the math on that, that's trillions of gallons of water impacted. Moreover, between 2000 and 2011, over 24.5 trillion gallons of oil were spilled in the waterways. Now, I'm not about to do the math on that and how many gallons of water that affected, but it's a lot, and it's not good. So enter, ironically, a plastic to solve the problem. Sorbents are anything that absorb other things. In this case, we're talking about oil. And I'm going to throw a couple of terms at you that are very important. One, hydrophobic. it repels water, and oleophilic, it loves oil. In this case, our material loves oil at a rate beyond any other thing on the planet, and it still actively repels water. So even when totally saturated with oil, it still floats on water. That is very important when you're cleaning up waterborne oil spills. You don't want to make the mess worse. You want to grab that oil completely, quickly, and not exacerbate the problem. And part of why our material works is we're able to produce this polypropylene nanomaterial at a size diameter that is much smaller than anything else on the planet. Most of the sorbents that exist now are above a micron or 1,000 nanometers in diameter. Ours are about 300 to 400 nanometers, yet very long, about 1 to 2 meters. And all of this kind of lends itself to how well it picks up oil and actively pushes away the water. It also lends itself to how much oil it can grab comparatively, how fast it works. And that's actually what we're finding is one of the key metrics is the time that oil is in the water. You want to get it out very, very quickly. Another benefit of our material is the amount of power and the amount of plastic itself that is required to produce it. In both cases, we take about 50% less power to create the same amount of material as our competitors, and we require about 50% less of the actual polypropylene to create the same yield of product. So not only is our product at the end much more capable, about 250 to 300% more capable, you're on the production side, you're using less power and less material. So it all matters to this whole cycle of being plastic neutral. We're also using reusable net formats. We're also using recycled plastic packaging, all of which we're really trying to be very careful in how we do this. And again, all towards really protecting this precious resource that we all share of our water. A couple things I want to share with you. The world experts at oil spills is something called the National Spill Control School, which happens to be here in Texas, down in Corpus Christi. They tested our products extensively, and they've been doing this for a very long time, and they've never seen anything quite like it. And there are a couple of quotes on how they found our product with some of the leading products out there. It was very illuminating, and we were pretty excited about the testing results. But I want to leave you with some thought-provoking questions. If you're a Broadway kind of lover like I am, there's a show that came out a few years ago called Rent, and the famous song from that show is Seasons of Love, and it talks about making you think about how you measure a year. What does time mean to you? Do you measure it in cups of coffee, in friendships? And one of the lyrics is it's 525, 600 minutes. That's a year. But let's think about a year in a different way. So 1 million people will die every year due to lack of clean water globally. That's 2 people per minute. Another 3 to 4 million people will die each year due to waterborne illnesses and lack of clean sanitation. That's another 6.5 people per minute. So in the span of this presentation, even though I tried to keep it short, about 43 people died globally simply due to the lack of clean water. And we have to do better as a planet. As humanity, we can do better. And we think Infisorb can really be a part of that. To close, Mother Teresa, another hero of mine, she said something about small things, just like John Wooden did. If you do small things with a whole lot of love, you can make world-changing things. You can change the world. And we think Infisorb will have an impact there. And I'd love to field any questions you have.